Unmute. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good. Or as Kit would say, if I were any better, I'd have to be twins.
I haven't heard that one.
He has a bunch of good phrases. There's Joanne. Hi, Joanne.
Joanne's on mute. Welcome, Joanne. I'm surprised Don's not on. He's always the first one on.
There we go. I got a new mouse and I'm having a heck of a time getting it to work consistently. And the regular crowd starts drifting in. Good morning, Laura.
Yeah, I left my mouse up at the lake last time I came home, brought the computer home and left my mouse, and I had to use the tracking pad. And I just have never gotten used to using the tracking pad. It just never works right for me.
Hello, Dr. Lawson.
You're on mute, Bill.
How do you do, Mr. Care?
Very well, thank you. As I told Barbara, what Kit tells me is if I were any better, I'd have to be twins.
Morning, Laura.
Hey, Paul.
Morning, everybody. How you guys doing?
Good. Hi, Michael. Hi, Jim. Hi, Jim.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Small crowd so far.
11 minutes to showtime.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot that don't show up until about 3 till, so. Morning, Andy.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can, John. Welcome.
Okay, good. Welcome. Thank you. I had to get on early because I'm such a Luddite. Anything that can happen with computers does for me. So I'll just be, I know you guys got a business meeting and everything to do, but I just wanted to make sure to get in early.
Oh, no, we're glad to have you. It takes, we get through business in about 20 minutes, so.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds fine then. How many people do you usually have?
We usually have around 30.
Wow, really? I don't think I've done some Zooms. I've never had that many. Once you get past the top, that's pretty well all I've ever dealt with. So
yeah, we usually end up on 2 screens.
Oh. Do I need to know anything about that?
No.
Okay, good. Good answer.
About that at all. Do you have slides that you're going to show, or are you going to talk?
No, okay. I've got some book covers like this and
cool. Okay.
And that's all I've got. I'm very, very low tech, Barbara.
That's absolutely fine.
Oh,
so are many of our members. Many of our members just dial in on the phone because they don't know how to do it on the computer. So
they just listen?
They just listen.
Oh, okay.
They can talk too, but they usually don't.
Okay. Well, that's great. How long have you all been meeting by Zoom?
I guess since March, when everything sort of shut down.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's getting close to being over. I see all these. Of course, the only graphic that they have on television about the vaccine shows the needles going into people's arms. I mean, I would think that they might come up with some new sorts of ways to portray it, because every time you turn on your TV, there's a needle going in someone's arm.
Well, watching that too. I was watching that too. It's a big needle.
Is it a big needle? It looks big to me. Yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully it will work well and we'll start seeing the numbers going down.
Well, I
Good
sure
morning,
hope
Dr.
so.
Bowman.
We got we got other people down here. Now, see, mine has a little arrow. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, there's lots of other people here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to technology. Okay.
There's 15 online right now.
Oh gosh.
Upper right-hand corner where it says view.
Yeah.
If you look at
Yeah.
the thing that looks like a tic-tac-toe board and click that, then you see
Yeah.
everybody who's on the first screen, and then you can click to the second screen.
All right. Let me look here. Now this isn't going to make me like lose you guys or anything, is it?
No.
All right. Okay. My choices are show manage participants or show chat.
No, you don't want to show the chat.
Show manage participants.
I think you just want to look at gallery view.
And I don't have that. I don't
Well,
think
the
I have that.
Right-hand corner where it says view, upper right-hand corner.
Upper right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I don't see one.
You don't see a
It should be a little thing, little word that says view.
No, it says view on the left-hand corner.
Oh, well, then click that one.
Okay, you sure? All right, I may lose you. Or show manage participants is what.
Yeah.
All right, let's try that. No, that just has on the side. It shows everybody that's participating, names, and you can raise your hand or something. I don't know what it is. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry
All
about
right.
it.
Okay.
Put your mouse pointer in the upper right-hand corner
Okay.
and see if something doesn't show up.
All right. Well, I got to get rid of this now first.
Of
Let's
course.
see. Okay, let's just get rid of that. All right, close manage participants. That ought to be it. Okay, now go to the right-hand corner and just click below the toolbar, right?
Just wave your mouse around up at the upper right-hand corner.
Gallery view.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. By golly, there it is. Okay.
So you've learned your one new thing for the day.
And I'm going to go back to bed now. All right, let's see. So speaker view. Does that mean anything?
Yes. If you have speaker view on, that means whoever's talking, their picture gets big on your screen.
Oh, okay. So should I leave it just like that then so I can see everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
However you want to do it.
Well, it's all new. It's all new to me, Barbara. It's just like, I tell people like at the radio station, I said, look, it's just like a chimp. You just show me exactly the buttons to push and I won't do anything else to be able to get on and record my show. So they did, and I can do that, but I can't get far afield at all. So,
So you
all
won't
right, good.
have to today.
Pardon me?
You will not have to go very far today.
Okay, good. That's good.
Just talk when it's time.
Your very wonderful radio voice really comes through. I certainly enjoy listening to you over the radio. And
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and how soothing that voice. That's great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Great
And you-
show.
Okay, whenever anybody tells me that, I always like to send songs out to them. So if you don't mind, I'll send songs out to you guys. And what have I got? Is it William Lawson? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it William or Bill, or which would you
Bill.
prefer? Bill Lawson.
Mhm.
All right. And all right. I'm making some notes. And Bill Bowen or William Bowen?
Bill,
Bill Bowen. Okay. All right.
and
Great.
you and I have a connection in that Dean Demerit is a very good friend of mine.
Oh, really? Boy,
Yeah.
what a talented guy Dean is.
And he's out of town. I told him he should, come in this morning and he could reminisce with Galis with stories about flaying for a sleep at the wheel. But he's got another commitment.
Yeah, he was, there was like what, three Tulsans playing with Asleep at the Wheel at the time that he was with him. It was Taco Ryan was playing with him, and
Yeah, same time he was.
and Billy Estes was drumming, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. It was Billy Estes, it was Dean and Billy were drums and bass, and then Taco was playing sax, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's like early '80s. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, early 80s.
Well, he's a wonderful guy. I really like him a lot, and he's a talented man too.
Well,
Well-
Don, you and I have a connection too. I work at the University of Tulsa.
Oh, you do? I'll tell you what, I went in there the other day. What do you do there, Bill?
I help manage
the chair warm.
intellectual property there.
That's what I do. Intellectual properties, I said?
Yeah, I help the TU obtain patents and hopefully license them.
Oh, wow.
So
Boy, have you been on the campus recently?
I've been on campus 4 times since March 13th.
Well, I go every week over to Kendall Hall, of course, to do the radio show. And I went over last week and the building was locked. You know, and I live in Foyle.
Empty campus.
Yeah, well, I live 50 miles away. And of course, nobody told me it was going to be. So I call Rich Fisher and I said, and his voice answers and it's like, hello. And I said, Rich, it's John. I'm outside the door. I can't raise anybody. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got COVID.
Oh, too bad.
And he finally got a hold of some engineer that came up from the depths and let me in, that was wearing a mask that looked like a dog's nose. It was a very strange afternoon for me. But Judith Knoll had to go to quarantine because they'd been doing the fundraiser at KWGS. And so she was in quarantine and I'd seen Rich a week earlier. So I said, do I need to go get tested? No, you're probably all right. It's been a week. So now it's been 2. So I guess he was right.
I will wait about another minute or so and then I'll ring the bell and we'll get started here.
All right. And I'll sneak off and get some coffee. It's very nice visiting with you all. And thanks for the kind words. I understand Kit Sprague listens to the show as well. Am I correct there? Is Kit with us? Okay. All right, good. All right.
John, before we get started, I have a question. How many versions of San Antonio Rose are you up to?
I think we're up to 260 or so. But some of them, they've got a little sketchy. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now. And people are sending them in and I have no idea. They have like that group, Guy and Rollnut from the Lawrence Welk show, singing in German at one point. I'm saying, how do you even prove that? And I can, so I may have to lay off a little so we can reload. But yeah, it's getting up around 300.
John.
Oh, there's Kurt.
About 30 years ago, maybe a little longer, I was at a Christmas party at Maynard Ungerman's house.
Mm-hmm.
And at the party was, and I just lost his name, Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys wrote and sang San Antonio Rose. Leon
Roush.
Okay. He was there and he and I sang it with him playing the guitar at the Christmas party.
Wow. Wow. Boy, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, I got that going for me, folks. So I don't have to risk it.
Okay, now my clock is chiming and you won't be able to hear anything until it gets through, but that means that's the official start time. So as soon as it gets through dinging 7, we'll start. So go get your coffee, John. We're still having people join us. That's great. Clunk. That wasn't a very good sound. Okay. Let me bring up, let me share screen and bring up the flag. And Steve Kerr is our Rotarian of the day. So Steve, take it over.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'm going to take advantage of my bully pulpit as the Rotarian of the day for a minute and do things just a little bit differently. When I was in the 3rd grade, a lot of things changed. I changed schools. I changed my name from Gary to Steve. I started getting hand-me-downs from my little brother. I made my first B in school, and I had a very smart 3rd grade teacher who not only had us recite the Pledge of Allegiance, but also the preamble to the Constitution. So what I would like to ask of you is that when I get to the pledge, I do want you to salute, but just listen this time instead of trying to go along. It kind of clutters up the Zoom anyway. Sometimes it helps to just listen. But the preamble to the Constitution, we don't give it enough attention, in my opinion. It sets the stage, the tone, the foundation for the Constitution itself. And it's like this. Some of you know it. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Having said that, let's take a few moments just to be thankful for the wonderful country that we live in. Give thanks for the liberty that we do have, the freedom that we have, the fact that we are a union, that we are indivisible. We are the land of opportunity. Opportunity begets progress. Thanks to the progress that has been made in science and medicine, we have a vaccine in just a few months instead of a few years. I'm so grateful to be part of this club and to have been born into this country and have you, my fellow Rotarians, as my friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. Megan, Sergeant at Arms. It's all yours.
Right. That was really nice, Steve. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Everybody enjoy the snowstorm this past Sunday. Awesome. All right. Do we have any guests this morning? Anybody bring a guest? I'm looking at the names besides our speaker, of course. Any guests otherwise? Anybody see anybody? Okay. All right. Well, then we will move on to any anniversaries or birthdays. Bill Bowen, I see your hand up.
Yeah, this past week on the snow day, actually, on the 13th, I became eligible for Medicare. And as tempting as it was to go outside and break my hip in the snow so I could flash the card at the ER, I decided not to. But it was a great day.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. No flashing, Bill.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
And I gave my check to Mike at the board meeting this last week, so I'm caught up.
He did do that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I've got
Thank
a birthday,
you.
Megan. I expected to see you this morning with sandy beaches in the background, but I'm disappointed that you had to come back.
Oh, me? Oh, I haven't gone yet to the beach, but very soon, very soon. Christmas.
I have a birthday this Sunday.
You have a birthday Sunday? Is that what you said?
This coming Sunday on the 20th.
Nice.
And
All right.
that said, I'm trying to get hold of my PSO friend because I've lost power and I'm cold.
Oh, is that why you have a hat on? Oh, wow. So how long have you been out of power?
Oh, just in the last couple of hours, probably.
Oh, gosh. Well, I hope it comes back on soon. Well, happy almost birthday.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Carolyn McGay, you're waving.
Yes, I've got a happy back.
Okay. Well, let's start the happy backs. Bring it.
You know, my granddaughter, Lillian, who was the ballerina, well, her family went to Puerto Vallarta for the last week. And I can't believe it. I can't believe that they went, but they did. And they came back last night. So they've been at the beach and they've had a wonderful time. So anyway, that was just kind of unusual during this time, so I thought I'd share it.
I've had a few friends go to Mexico during this pandemic, so glad they're home safely, though. That's great. All right, Tamara, I see your hand up. Where'd she go?
I'm here.
Okay.
I have a happy buck because my family and I are in Florida. We're at Disney, and we spent Monday at Magic Kingdom and Tuesday at Hollywood Studios, and today we're going to Epcot. But the park doesn't open till noon, so I was able to get up and join all of you guys. And as you can see, everybody else is still sleeping. So.
Yeah. So are there many people? I mean, is it crowded? Is it, how is it there right now?
It's not horribly crowded. Everybody wears masks, and they have tons of, hand sanitizer everywhere, and they're cleaning all the time. But it's not really any different. The lines still are, because they didn't just decrease the number of people allowed in, they decreased the capacity of the rides. Like when you go into a show, there's a row that can be occupied every, they space 3 seats every 4 seats or so. And then there's a whole empty row. And then massively decreased. Same thing in rides. They, put empty seats between groups.
Wow. Well, have fun. That's great.
We
Hope you have nice weather.
Yep.
Good. All right. Jim, I see you waving your hands up there.
Okay, I don't know what we want to call this, but a while back, my wife and I went for a stroll down miles from anywhere in Costco, and I was walking along. I picked up this brick. Can you see it?
Orvis.
I've had this vest for years. The other day I went to put it on, and I saw that, and so I said, well, I kept kind of watching to see if Rich was on, but I haven't seen him. But I wanted to show that.
Oh yeah, I don't see Rich Orvis. That's funny.
Yeah, same.
Maybe he'll watch the recording. All right.
I have a happy buck too. This is Tim.
Okay, Tim.
So this past week, I was notified that I am now an assistant governor for 2021-2022 Rotary year.
Yay.
Pretty exciting.
Wonderful.
Congrats. That's great. All right.
I have a happy buck.
All right, Janet.
December 9th, my niece, and I just lost a picture, gave birth to a beautiful little girl.
Oh, yay.
I'm going to post the name. My brother called me. She gave birth at 8:24 North Carolina time. He called me at 9 o'clock my time, which is 8 o'clock. My niece called me later in the day. I said, your father has beat you to it. He called everybody and he sent all pictures. So I called my mom. I said, congratulations, great grandmother. And she says, I am not mad about that.
Janet, your mom doing good after her pacemaker?
She is doing great after the pacemaker. All her pain has gone away. She's moving around the house. So, Mike, I have to send you 2 happy bucks for that.
Great.
Okay.
I think you've got money in the till already.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have a happy buck.
All right, Martha.
My happy buck is that even though our business has really slowed down because of COVID, because it's really hard to place people in senior living, it has given me free time to help at my church. And yesterday I got to go around and deliver Christmas cookies to our shut-ins. And it was so fun to see their faces because none of them knew that they were coming. And they were little containers of Christmas cookies. And it was really, really fun. I felt very, I guess I could say, privileged to be able to not only do things like that, but friends who have doctor's appointments and that kind of things. I've always wanted to do this kind of thing to help people, and it's a lot. The COVID is actually allowing me to do that. So it's
That's great. Good. Oh, yes, Mike Bibby.
I've been working at the Salvation Army and assembling bicycles, probably 50 or more at this point, bicycles, tricycles, whatever. And they're just doing a wonderful job. It looks like they're going to have plenty of everything for the children that are registered. And I'm just really happy that they're going to be able to do that. Distribution is next Monday and Tuesday, and they figured out a way to do it safely, without contact, so forth, so on. So I'm a happy camper.
Good. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Anybody else? Okay, well, I'll put my final happy back in that the Dutch won state. Holland all won state. So it's a very exciting game. It was very cool. So
Good for you.
yeah. So we had a good time. But all right, joke of the day. And actually I have kind of like a two-parter, but this is the first one. A man named Maurice went to the doctor to get a physical, and he's a senior man. And he a few days later, the doctor saw Maurice and walking down the road, and he had a gorgeous woman on his arm. And the doctor spoke to Maurice and said, "Man, you're really doing great, aren't you?" And Maurice replied, "Well, yeah, I'm just doing what you said, Doc. Get a hot mama and be cheerful." The doctor said, "I didn't say that. I said, you've got a heart murmur. Be careful." Little joke there. And then in honor of the snow, where does a snowman keep his money? A snowbank.
Oh.
Sorry. All right. And on to you.
Thank you,
I'm
Meg.
out. You're welcome.
Okay, back to sharing the screen again. And go through the slides here rather quickly because we've got John Wooley to speak with us today. We're going to continue. I guess this is our last Rotary meeting of 2020. So if we could get our 2020 dollars in before the end of the year to Mike Bibby, that would be great. And we could have a new number to start the new year with in January. We're doing a lot to honor John Walker. I've got another slide to show in a minute. Joy, if you are on the phone or on the call, do you want to tell about the donation that was given in Don's name?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. As you know, Stan started this little this little venture and said, "I'm going to contact 10 people and ask them if they will commit to $500 a piece." So his target was $5,000. And so checks have been coming in. Linda's going to the post office and she's forwarding checks that are for the Don Walker Fund. And so I got my envelope earlier this week and I looked at it and started looking at the checks and so forth. And all of a sudden I saw this one. It was for $5,000. And it was from a lady named Molly Williford. And I remember I met Molly Williford at the very first Lobster Fest. She was Don Walker's guest. And she sat at the same table as my nieces and my, so anyway, it was really interesting. And so we've got more than we anticipated. And I think we've got a big project going for that. I don't know if it's been approved, but we've got plans. We're not going to let that money sit.
Thank you, Joy. And that was such a generous gift from Molly. And she accompanied Don to many Rotary events. And she's a very generous soul. So that will enable us to do some nice things in Don's name. So I think Foundation meets tomorrow and we'll have something to announce the first of the year. So thank you. And thank Molly very much. Okay, here's the information if you want to send a Christmas card on to the men and women who are serving on the USS Tulsa. There's the address. And if you don't have a chance to write it down here, text me later and I'll send it to you. Okay, thanks to Andy and Carolyn. We have on our website, this is our Sunrise Rotary website, there is a lovely, lovely tribute to Don Walker. And if you go to the website, and you go down to the picture of Dawn and click on that, there's some wonderful slides of Dawn at different stages of life and at different stages of having fun, which Dawn always did. He always had fun. And the names of the people who are in the slide are underneath it. So when you get a chance, go through and look at that, because Carolyn did a really super job of putting all that together. And it just brought a smile to my face to look at Dawn having fun. And that's the way I'll always remember him. Okay, Linda Ortega.
Good morning, everyone. So today we move closer to a world of peace and goodwill as Barbara Smallwood becomes a Paul Harris Fellow again. Her gift to the Rotary Foundation's educational and humanitarian programs is a commitment to peace and to a better life for people across the world whom she'll never meet. This is a truly selfless action. Barbara, it's because of gifts like yours that the Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes in our world: improved living conditions, increased food production, better education, wider availability of treatment and rehabilitation for the sick and disabled, new channels for the flow of international understanding, and brighter hopes for peace. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, Barbara joins a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. It's the goal of Rotarians the world over, and one that Barbara clearly shares. It gives me great pleasure, Barbara, to present you with the emblem of appreciation given to a Paul Harris Fellow, a pin with 3 sapphires, Paul Harris +3. We congratulate you and we thank you for your commitment to the programs of the Rotary Foundation. And in addition to the Paul Harris Fellow, in the last 2 months, Barbara has also joined the Paul Harris Society, become a member of Rotary Direct, and she completed Leadership Academy, not to mention the fact that she is now our president for a year of COVID. So please join me in thanking Barbara for all of her selfless work this year. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Linda. I will wear that with pride. That's a beautiful pin. I looked at Kay's because it came to my house, and it's a lovely pin. So I challenge the rest of you, get another pin, get some more sapphires in your stars there.
Yes, and we women are just beating you guys. So come on, men, step up.
Okay, as usual, we have something in the fundraiser that is not the word that should be there. So the winner of I think it was 2 weeks ago, was Joy. Oh, I know what it was. It was guessing my age because it was my birthday. And Joy is the one who guessed my age. So I mailed her a Starbucks card. So I hope she has that by now and is enjoying it. So today, go out to your fundraiser, read through that, see if you can find the mistake in the fundraiser, post it in the chat room, and whoever posts it first in the chat room, I will mail you a $5 gift card to Starbucks. So on these cold days, a nice hot toddy might taste really good. So go look for it because Steve has planted it. Thank you. Okay, Mike Bibby, I think it's time for you to do
Pot of gold.
the pot of gold. Yeah.
Okay, let's see, get it up there where you can be seen. Yeah, okay. There's 20 tickets in here this morning. Some people have tried to stuff the pot, but they can't do that because other people. And I've pulled out okay, the name I have found says Ellie.
Again.
Ellie Tonquist. And she's not one of the ones that you got to let me do screen sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay, you should be able to now.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
All right. There are the available numbers, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, and the balance is $383. What is your number, Ellie?
I'm going to go with the number closest to my age, 19.
19, okay. Well, let's see, let's unshare the screen so people can see me. And there are the cards. And there's number 19. Everybody see number 19? Well, I know you can't. There you go. And the card is, oh, it's an ace. but it's not the Joker, Ellie. Sorry. I was really hoping we could give that $300 away and start a new year with a new pot, but oh well.
Oh, well.
Mike,
Yes.
number 10 is not blocked off, and I picked that last week. So double check that so that somebody doesn't pick 10.
I think I picked 10 once.
Well, okay. I appreciate you sharing that. I have, the card is not there because I've already torn it up, but I'll make sure it comes off.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to our slides. Now it's time for us to do our elections, and we have 2 to do. And let's look at the first one, which is the new board. It'll be Bill Bowen's board coming in, and we have the candidates listed there. And if anyone would like to nominate someone from the floor, they may. Or if anyone would like to move that we accept the slate by acclamation, they may do that as well. So I'm going to leave this slide up, but I'll be able to hear.
Let me add something as well. VP elect pending and vocational service pending are inaccurate. Martha is going to be taking both those positions.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Congratulations, Martha. Okay, do I hear something from the floor? Like unmute yourself and either move.
We accept the slate as published.
Thank you.
And I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Wonderful. We have our slate of officers and we will publish that in the next fundraiser. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, the next one we'll have to vote on is the foundation has 2 slots. As you know, Herb Orr is leaving Sunrise at the end of the year, so his position needs to be filled for the rest of the full year through June. And then we have 2 members to be elected serving in July. And the candidates are Don Wasson and Mark Welty. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do, those of you who are on your computers, go to the chat room and do a private note to me, because this is anonymous voting, and I will know, but I won't tell. A note to me as to who your vote is, one or the other, and who the top person, the person that gets the most votes will fill out Herb's slot, and the other person will take the new slot starting July 1 with concurrent with Bill's new board. So if you're on your phone and you don't have the ability to go to the chat room, then send me a text or an email, either one, and I will tally up all the votes and we'll announce that. I'll have Kit blast that out. So you can either do it on the chat room privately to me, or you can do it in an email or a text to me. And that's the only one you have to do, is to vote either for Don or for Mark, one or the other. Thank you. Okay. As usual, this is our chart. As we're going, the numbers are going up instead of going down. I'm hopeful that with the vaccine eventually taking effect, that those numbers will start to go down and we can start to meet in person again. We had our president's meeting yesterday that Ann Williams has put together, and nobody's really meeting in person. They've tried and they're just not doing it. And they're hopeful that in March things will look better and we can start meeting in person. But we are not alone in having virtual meetings. So I just put those numbers up there because if you can see that, you can understand why we're not meeting. Okay, Steve, I'm going to give it over to you, Rotarian of the Day, and you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and all the interesting jobs you've had. As I read your bio, I thought, wow, you've had an interesting life and it's not even over yet. And then you can introduce our speaker, John.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I have had an interesting life, and you're right, it's not over yet. I feel like what was the story about the centenarian who was being interviewed by the young radio reporter, and the reporter asked him, "Have you lived here all of your life?" And he said, "Not yet." I heard, I was listening to the BBC radio last Friday, and they were reporting on the delivery of the vaccine to the first recipients in London. Of course, the first one was a 90-year-old lady, and she said it was the best thing that had ever happened. Well, since she was born in 1930, and probably was a young teenager during the Blitzkrieg. I kind of think some other things that have happened of significance in her life as well. But anyway, it was nice to hear she, at her age, she can take that hyperbole. And then the second person to receive it was an 80-year-old man by the name of William Shakespeare. He's no relation to the Bard, but they decided to record the first recipient as patient 1A and the second recipient as patient 2B, or not 2B. I've done this so many times that some of you who know me know way too much about me. So I decided that now that I'm a senior, I can share a few of the most important of my life lessons, not in any particular order. First, your value of a person as a person is not linked to how short you are. You know, I feel sorry for people who are taller than me, but I refuse to hold it against them or make me feel lesser about them because of it. There's also no link to your value as a person to the color of your skin or your gender or your wealth or your poverty or your abilities or disabilities or just about any other metric that you want to use. Number two, truthfulness may be the most important element of a person's character. If you are not truthful, then nothing else that you say or do should or can be trusted. Number three, what you say and how you say it matters. One of the first rules of communication is that what you say matters less than what your audience hears, whether your audience is your child, your spouse, or a stadium full of strangers. Four, this seems very timely. Facts are more important than perceptions, feelings, or intuitions. Unfortunately, is a flaw of the modern human that we often act on our perceptions, feelings, or intuitions in spite of facts to the contrary. So before you react or decide, check the facts, regardless of your feelings. I was not going to include this last one, but then I realized if I didn't, my mother would hunt me down and smack me. The fact that you have the right to do something does not make it the right thing to do. Thank you very much. Our speaker of the day is John Wooley. I proposed him as a speaker when I heard him promoting his book on KWGS, the 20th Century Honky Tonk. He is obviously very eloquent. I've checked a little bit further on him, and I can see that he is kind of a beacon for the richness of Tulsa's character and history and experience. And you can read his books, you can read all about him, but I think the best way to get to know John Wooley is to just listen to him. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate that. And I don't want to give anything away on the $5 gift card on the newsletter, but I can tell you where it's wrong is where it says that my work is critically acclaimed. There's the thing that you have wrong in the newsletter. So whoever wants to get in and get that $5 gift certificate, there you go. No, actually, it kind of has been critically acclaimed, some of it, and especially we're getting a lot. And I'm going to show you a copy of this is the dummy a copy of the cover of the dummy that we proofread. And this is 20th Century Honky Tonk, book about the first 75 years of the Cain's Ballroom that I did with Brett Bingham. And the reason I have to show you a copy from the dummy is because I don't have one in the house. They've all sold and I haven't gotten any more. And people have asked us to bring emergency books to the Tulsa stores. I'm a big buy local guy, Brett is too. And so we have local people that have the book in Tulsa and in Claremore. And so it's a good problem to have. I don't have a copy of the book even in my files right now. So the book is called 20th Century Honky Tonk, and we ended in the 20th century at in 1999, which was a kind of a nice time to do it because that's 75 years exactly from 1924 to 1999. And the first 50 years, it was essentially Western swing and country. And then the next 25 years, it was rock and roll and just a potpourri of other things. Now, I was at the Tulsa World, as some of you know, I was at the Tulsa World as an entertainment writer for 23 years. And I wrote a lot about Tulsa music and Tulsa entertainment. And people, one of the things that really I thought a lot about was because people would come up to me and say, you know, others just don't know what kind of an entertainment scene we have in Tulsa, how important Tulsa's entertainment scene was. And, you know, I got to wondering, does everybody say that? Like, and somebody in Providence, Rhode Island say that, right? Or does someone in, you know, Houston say that, or in Omaha say that? And so a lot of what I've done as a writer is to try and sort of run that down and see if we really are special, or if it's just we think we're special because we're here. And I'm really leaning toward the notion that we really are special. And one of the reasons is the Cain's Ballroom. And not just, although maybe this is the major reason, but it was the crucible for an entire genre of music. It didn't start, Western swing music started in Fort Worth. It didn't start in Tulsa, but when Bob Wills came up here in 1934, February 11th, 1934 was his first broadcast from Tulsa. Over the subsequent years, Bob Wills and Johnny Lee Wills created a genre of music that's known all around the world. I mean, Western swing to Tulsa is like jazz is to New Orleans and Kansas City. It's like the blues are to Memphis. I think we ought to be able to, someone coming into Tulsa, once obviously the pandemic lifts, someone coming into Tulsa ought to be able any weekend to go hear Western swing played somewhere. And the place where it started, it was like a three-legged stool. The Cain's Ballroom, the original 25,000 watt, later 50,000 watt KVO radio station, and Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. That was the three-legged stool for Western swing. So that's one of the reasons that the Cain's is important, but there are other reasons. It was a huge part of that whole cosmic cowboy thing. Some of you may remember that deal that happened. Remember all those three named guys from Texas, singer-songwriters, Jerry Jeff Walker, Michael Martin Murphy, Ray Wiley Hubbard, you know, all of those guys. The Cain's was one of the most important stops for that kind of music. Later on, people like Van Halen, the Police, U2, started at the Cain's because the Cain's became known as a place where what they call baby bands could play. Larry Schaefer, who had the Cain's at the time, would book just about anybody, and the record labels at that time would pitch in money to help. There's a great story, which we have in 20th Century Honky Tonk, about R.C. Bradley, who had with Jeff Nicks, had the Cain's a little bit before Larry. And R.C. Bradley got called by someone at Shelter Records in the early 1970s. That was the one that Leon Russell established when he came back home from LA, established here in Tulsa in the early 70s. And he and Denny Cordell, the producer who had been involved with Joe Cocker. So Denny Cordell calls R.C. Bradley one day. He says, look, I've got this band. They're in town. They're on their way back to Florida from LA, and they're stopped off here at the studio. They're doing some recording. We're trying to find them some gigs. Would you play them? And Bradley, who was always a hustler and knew, I mean, in a good way, said, well, maybe, what will you give us? Well, he gave, now, usually the venue pays the act, but Denny Cordell gave the Cain's $500 to book this band called Mudcrutch at the Cain's. That was the band they played. Then they did a little bit more recording at Church Studio. They played the Cain's, and then they went on back to Florida. And that was, of course, the band that became Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. The Cain's was actually paid to play that band on their stage. And finally, in 78, I say finally, the final big thing, one of the big things was it was the penultimate stop on the Sex Pistols' very infamous American tour. Probably the last time the Sex Pistols really played as a group, because they had one more show, and by that time it was all gone. And so we've got all of that in the book. And Brett and I are both really happy to get into the Bob Wills stuff really heavily, because Brett, some of you may know Ray Bingham, who's been booking bands in Western swing bands and country bands all over the country for a long time. Brett is his nephew, and Brett is also the current business manager of Bob Wills' Texas Playboys, which is fronted by Jason. Just lost Jason's last name. This is what happens when you get past 70. You lose every proper noun that you ever had. If it starts with a capital letter, I don't remember it. So sorry. Jason Roberts is the name of the band, the member that's fronting the Texas Playboys now after Leon Roush left. And of course, I worked for the Tulsa World, wrote about Bob Wills for a long time, and I have a Western swing radio show on Public Radio Tulsa, 7 p.m. on Saturdays, called Swing on This. So I want to leave some time for questions, but I do want to kind of go into a little bit of history if you guys would like to hear that. The history of the Canes goes back to 1924, when it was built by a man who has become very controversial in Tulsa. He was a former shoe salesman and a Tulsa founding father named Tate Brady. And Tate Brady was the guy who built the Canes, but it wasn't called the Canes at the time. The research that I was able to dig out said that it was going to be a Hupmobile dealership. Now, we're all too young to have driven Hupmobiles, but a Hupmobile was apparently kind of a Ford in the Ford range car. And Hupmobiles in that time, in the 20s, were fairly popular. But I can't ever find that one Hupmobile was ever sold out of the place at all. Because, and there was maybe a little bit of, it was a school building maybe for a little bit, but it became instead very quickly a dance hall called the Louvre, just like the Paris Art Museum. Now, why Tate Brady named a dance hall after a Paris Art Museum, I have no idea. I've never been able to find why he made that call. But it was called the Louvre, Louvre. And it played, interestingly enough, given what we found out about Tate Brady later and all the controversy, he had both African-American acts and white acts in the place throughout the years. So it came along kind of toward the end of his life. Well, in 1930, a guy named Madison Kane, Daddy Kane, he was called, came along, and he was looking for a place to set up a dance studio. Now, in the late 20s, there were a lot of people who followed the oil money, right, in Oklahoma, and Madison Kane was one of them. All of a sudden, there were people who had made fortunes in oil, and they were looking for something to do. And their wives were looking for something to do, and their wives wanted to learn the latest dance steps from New York. Well, Madison Kane had studied with a very famous dance duo at that time called Vernon and Irene Castle, and he was setting up all of these little dance studios around, and he came to the Canes, or at the Louvre at that time, and he thought this would be a great place. And so he leases the Louvre from I think it is the estate of Tate Brady by that time. Tate Brady, I think, is gone by this time. He leases the Louvre and changes the name to the Canes Academy of Dance. That's why when you see a lot of the old folks would refer to the Canes as the Canes Academy, that's what it was called. That's why it was called that. It was the Canes Academy of Dance. Madison Daddy Kane was the one who ran it. And he banned alcohol. He insisted on proper dress, and then he changed the name. Well, Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, as their name suggests, had started out in the 1930s, actually in the 1920s, as the Light Crust Doughboys. And when I taught class on Tulsa music at OSU Tulsa, I always asked the kids, why do you think they were named after like dough? Like, what was that about? And because they were on the air to promote dough, promote flour, promote light crust flour. And the kids, of course, had no idea. Well, you guys know that in those days, everybody baked their own bread. Everybody baked their own cookies, their own bread, their own everything. And so flour was really, really a competitive thing. So Bob Wills and a guy named Milton Brown, a couple of other people, Herman Arnspiger from Tulsa, a couple of other people, had this group, and a guy named Madison Daddy Kane was the general manager at Burris Mills, which did light crust flour. And he put them all together, and they played at noon on the little radio hookup through Tulsa, Texas and Oklahoma, and promoted light crust flour. Well, Madison Kane was a little bit, you may remember the film, what's the film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? There's a character called Pappy O'Daniel in that. And that Pappy O'Daniel is named, it's not really the same kind of a guy, but it's kind of a tribute to Pappy O'Daniel. Pappy O'Daniel wouldn't let him play any other gigs out. And he made him work 40-hour weeks. At first, he made him drive like flour trucks and stuff, in addition to doing the music. Finally, he let him just do 80-hour or 8-hour days practicing music and playing music. But he was very autocratic. And he didn't like drinking very much. He didn't drink at all. He was teetotaler. He didn't like drinking, and Bob did. So there was a problem there as well. And apparently, Bob was chafing at the bit. Milton Brown left, and he put his own band together, and he was just knocking them dead, playing dances all over the place, because this was essentially dance music. And so Bob was chafing at the bit anyway. Well, apparently when Fort Worth legalized beer, Bob and some of his boys went out to play around the different places, and I'm sure sampled the now legal wares, and didn't show up for the Playboy or for the Light Crust Doughboy concert the next day. And that was it. And so they parted ways. Bob Wills took some of his people, including his brother Johnny Lee Wills, who played tenor banjo, and some Tommy Duncan, who was singing with him at the time, and formed a group called the Playboys. They were down in Waco, Texas, and were starting to play some jobs. I met a man named O.W. Mayo down there, who later on became their business manager. No relation, as nearly as I can tell, to the Tulsa Mayos, although he did move to Tulsa later. So they were playing, and they were kind of starting to get going all right. The problem was, and I'm sure we have lawyers here with us, when they advertised in the paper, they advertised themselves as formerly the Light Crust Doughboys. Well, Pappy O'Daniel, W. Lee O'Daniel, sued and basically chased him out of Texas. They went to Oklahoma City. They got on the air for a few days there, and one day, the WKY in Oklahoma City, one day, the general manager, the station manager, gets a call and says, "This is W. Lee O'Daniel, and we were thinking, we've got the Light Crust Doughboys show right now on KOMA. We were thinking about bringing it to WKY, but we can't do that unless you get rid of the Bob Wills." So WKY calls the boys in and says, "Sorry, we can't have you anymore on the station. But there's a new station opening up in Tulsa called KTUL, which was of course, now is the TV station, Channel 8. So I'll call down there and see if they might want to use you," because that was the way people at that time promoted their dances. They made money on their dances, so they go on the air and play music and say, "Come see us Saturday night, Friday night." So it was February the 11th, 1934. O.W. Mayo, Everett Stover, the trumpet player, and Bob are driving from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. Ice is falling. It's just a drag. They're bummed. They've only been at Oklahoma City about a week, and the long arm of W. Lee O'Daniel has reached for them and gotten them. And Mr. Mayo always said that it was his idea He said, Bob, you know, the station we're going to audition, it's only 5,000 watts. Let's try this big station, KVOO. It's 25,000 watts. Let's go by and see if we can get on that. Well, they went by and talked to William B. Way, who was the station manager. Somehow they talked themselves in to getting on at midnight that night. So they called that was the earliest all the guys could come down from Oklahoma City. So they got them all down. They did it at the Phil Tower building, and which is where KVO was broadcasting from at the time. And so they all come down, and they come on the air at midnight, and they tell people, and the broadcast patterns, you guys know, with KVO was incredible. And they said, we'll send a photo to the person who writes us from the farthest distance away. And the card that they got was from Oakland, California. That's how the reach of KVOO. So they started on KVOO, but it wasn't until 1935 when they were playing for, I believe it was the Morningside or Morning Star. I think it's Morningside Nurses Association. It's now Hillcrest, I believe. They were playing a dance for the Nurses Association. And they came to the Canes. They'd been playing at a little hole in the wall second story club called the Playmore in downtown Tulsa. And they look around and say, hey, this is great. Let's try this. So they make a deal with Madison Kane. He can continue doing his dance lessons if they can come in and start doing their dances. That's how they got associated with the Canes. They start doing broadcasts over KVOO, which reaches everywhere. Western swing, which is an amalgam of Texas fiddle music, country, jazz, pop, south of the border music, blues, rhythm and blues, all comes together in the Canes ballroom. So that's how that all started in the Canes. And excuse me, because I get real geeky about it and go on forever. So my apologies for that. I know that we want to have some time for questions. I would like to just let you all know that if you have any horror fans, or if you're a horror fan out there, I want to say a couple of things about a series of books that I just came out from I don't know if you can see that. Yes. From Babylon Books. This is a series called The Cleansing. I have 3: Seventh Sense, Satan's Swine, and Sinister Serpent. Got a lot of sibilancy there. And these are stories set in the 1930s Arkansas, in the rural area of Arkansas. And they're told in epistolary form, all letters. A guy from the WPA is out getting, which they really did, out getting stories from the old people in the rural areas, and runs into this big nest of witches. And I wrote it with a friend, longtime friend of mine who is a pulp fan. If you guys know what pulp magazines are from the 30s and 40s, like Weird Tales, it's in that tradition. So those books are also on sale. It's the same places where we've got 20th Century Honky Tonk. And in Tulsa, although they seem to be selling really fast, in Tulsa, they're at Magic City Books. Buck Adams Cosmic Curios, Ida Red has got some, and in Claremore Boarding House Books has some. And of course, you can get them online and all of that. So that's my plug, and that's my stuff. We've got looks like about 10 minutes. If we want to talk about any of this, I'll be glad to visit with you about it.
Great. There's a little bit of chat going on. It's basically, they were asking where we can find the book, and it sounds like you've answered that question.
Right.
Or Magic City Books and Amazon. So
Magic City Books, Amazon, and actually the Canes had it. I think the Canes just sold out. Ida Red has it, and okay. Buck Adams has it in Tulsa.
Great. Mike, did you have a question?
I did. You talked briefly about the original name of the group, but how did the name Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys come about?
All right, so you had the Light Crust Doughboys. They leave and they become the Playboys. He can't name them the Light Crust Doughboys anymore, so he's named them the Playboys. That's what they are in Waco. It's Bob Wills and the Playboys. They go across the Red River to Oklahoma City, and they add the Texas to their name. So then it becomes Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. So that's how the naming worked out.
Just a side note, John, probably about 5 years ago, the Canes replaced the floor
Yes.
I think it'd been danced on too many times, and so they had to replace it. They took the wooden slats and they made picture frames out of them, and they sold those at Ida Red. And I went down and bought one when I heard about it. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I saved it just because it was a piece of history. So
Those are beautiful. I think a couple of guitars may have been made from them, and I know some keychains were made from them as well, Barbara. Interesting thing about that we have in the book, for years, they said it was Tulsa or the world's only spring-loaded dance floor, right? That it was spring-loaded. People said over the years, they don't know about what it was, Dodge truck springs or some kind of springs, to the point that when Speedy West and Cheryl Cummins put in the Caravan Ballroom, they couldn't do springs, but they did inner tube, like pieces of tires. So it would have the dance floor would have the give, like the springs at the Canes, except that when they did what you said, Barbara, when they opened it up, it was like, if you guys remember, what was it, Geraldo Rivera going into Al Capone's vault, and you expected like all of this treasure, and there was like a bottle. Well, that's what happened with the Canes. There weren't any springs underneath the Canes Ballroom, none whatsoever. There were, however, they tell me, and I'm not a carpenter, so I don't really understand this, that the joists were farther apart than normal, than you would make a normal floor. So because they were farther apart, there was a little bit more give in the floor, and that led to the rumor, what turned out to be false, that it was a spring-loaded dance floor, but it wasn't. So there you go.
John, I was just curious, how many people on average would they have in the heyday, you know, back in Bob Wills and Texas Playboys? What would a Saturday night crowd, you know, what would the number be? 500? Would it be?
Oh, no, it'd be more than that. Usually Eldon Shamlin, we had some eyewitnesses that we were able to talk to about that. It was almost like you couldn't even move. You could just about, sometimes you could just sway. Now, keep in mind, there was there was kind of a line going out the back door where the bootleggers were too. And so it was kind of always in flux, but they were packed. Now the Canes holds about 1,200, and there were probably, and that includes the balcony. So there were probably 900 to 1,000 in its heyday, at least 900 to 1,000. And they had 2 nights a week, in addition to the touring that they did. They would do 2 nights a week at the Canes. So they broadcast live noon to 1, and those places, those would be full. Those were free broadcasts from noon to 12, sometimes 12:30 or sometimes 1 as it went over the years. And they would broadcast that, and then they would broadcast the first hour of each dance on Thursday night and Saturday night, in addition to bringing people in. And we talked to people who would get this picture in their heads of the Canes, because all they would do, people from far away, like other states, all they would do was hear what they would think this was like a Glenn Miller, like a make-believe ballroom kind of thing, right? And they'd all want to do pilgrimages as the Canes. So it was packed, I guess is the short answer. It was usually packed on Thursday nights and Saturday nights during its heyday, which would have been the late 1930s. Bob Wills left in 42 to go to the military, and it was still packed until it started sort of fading after the war, after World War II.
So it looks like there's a question here. Is the hole in the wall from Sid Vicious? Is that Vicious still there?
Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. Now,
right.
Allegedly, now, as a matter of fact, they have that on display in the office of the Canes. It's a panel that Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols allegedly put his fist through the wall on that, I think, day, and I've got it down, I think it's February 1978, put his fist through the wall, and then they took that piece of the wall down. And I guess, you know, whatever gave it the, what do you call it when you talk about where a book comes from, the provenance. They gave it the provenance and then put it back up. So yeah, there's a hole in the wall that Sid Vicious allegedly put his fist through in 78.
Yeah, and you said were any other bands playing there at that time?
When
he
Sid
did
Vicious
that?
did that, yeah, there was a band that opened there called Bliss from Bartlesville. A Bartlesville band opened for the Sex Pistols, and the Sex Pistols, it was an amazing scene. We recreated that a little bit. We had a couple of eyewitnesses that were right up front that we were able to interview, and we recreated that scene. There were nobody knew what was going to happen because the Sex Pistols were so notorious. So there was a lot of religious groups with banners outside, telling people not to go in and, give your life to Jesus instead of going to see the Sex Pistols and all of that sort of thing. And there were apparently, Larry Schaefer told us that every undercover policeman in Tulsa was there watching the Sex Pistols. And that was probably most of the crowd because there wasn't a big crowd at all. Nobody knew who they were. You had to kind of be cutting edge a little bit, maybe, to know who the Sex Pistols were at that particular time. 78. Yeah.
So there's Barbara, do you have time for one more question?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, one more question, and it's just, John, can you identify any notable celebrities from those days? From which day? From those days?
Like celebrities that worked there or attended there, or
Jim, Jim Milburn, do you want to go ahead and elaborate on your question? We can't hear you, Jim. You're on mute.
Sorry, my space bar didn't work. Yeah, John, just thinking about such a draw that from outlying areas, and but by the same token, because of the oil days, etc. I'm just wondering if there aren't some historical people of note that we would know
that came that were in attendance or that played there, or what, Jim?
That were in attendance.
Well, for one thing, keep in mind that it was kind of the hang for the people who did The Outsiders, Coppola and that bunch of brat packers. They hung out at the Canes while they were doing The Outsiders and also Rumblefish. Gene Autry, I know, came by there. Allegedly, Charlie Parker, who Bob Wills, I'm sorry, yes, it is Charlie Parker, came by and watched a show there. There were a lot of people that came through, musicians mostly. And I know one of the interesting things, sometimes if you watch concerts from bands that were around in the 70s and 80s, like The Police or Sting, or like U2, you'll see they'll be wearing Canes t-shirts on stage. And we found that we're selling a lot of books in the UK and in Australia. And I think the UK connection probably has something to do with Leon Russell, obviously, as well. When that whole, when all of the British people came over, young British people came over in the early 70s, when Shelter Records was going. But there's a lot of people who know what the Canes is, a lot of people internationally who know who the Canes is. But I would say, as far as celebrities, the major ones would have been Coppola and Matt Dillon and those folks from the early 80s.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you speaking today. And Barbara, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Megan.
That's been fun to hear the history. I grew up here, but I didn't know all that history. So that's been really interesting. I look forward to the book. Normally we give our speakers a coffee cup, a Sunrise coffee cup, but what we've been doing in the time of COVID is we've been making a donation in the speaker's name to Rotary International to End Polio Now. So there will be a donation made in your name. So thank you,
Barbara. And I have to tell you, my father died of polio in 1953.
Oh, really?
And during that polio summer. So that's,
right.
I especially appreciate that. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for telling us that.
Sure.
One other announcement, I got a note from Laura Garrett. She is also going to be an assistant district governor which is wonderful. Laura is new to our club, but she is not new to Rotary. She's been in 3 or 4 other Rotary clubs, so she'll make a great assistant governor. So we have a really super club. Okay, I will close on a quote from Dr. Seuss. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind.
Barbara,
Barbara,
Yes.
who won the foundation elections?
Well, I don't have, I'm waiting to see if I got any emails from people who are not able to vote on the chat room. So some people have phones, so I'm going to wait to get all their votes in, and then I'll have Kit blast it out.
All right, dynamite. Thank you.
So I hope everybody has a safe and pleasant, happy holiday. And we won't meet for the next 2 weeks, and I'll miss seeing you all. This has been my routine, and I really actually enjoy it. So this has been fun. So I will see you all the first week in January, and have a great holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Megan. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.